I'm Barbara Albert, and I'm the director of the Robert and Maureen Dunham Children's Learning Center at Penn College, and we're located in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. We completed the self-assessment during a staff meeting, and we did it in a round-robin fashion where each group would take a section, and the toddler teachers looked at it, the preschool teachers looked at it, and then I summarized those results. And then at our next staff meeting, we looked at those results together as a group and identified what our weaknesses were. There were a lot of things that we really had consensus about, and the things that we disagreed about were, we could talk about them, and the conversation was really good because it says, oh, I thought that meant this, and oh, I do this in my room. Oh, I don't do that in my room. So we found out where we didn't all do the same things, and what things people were doing. People were like, oh, I should be doing that. So that was positive. One of the characteristics of my staff is that we tend to be reflective learners, and sometimes we're too critical of ourselves. So I'm really conscious of pointing out to them, you're doing this really well. And so I think the self-assessment was effective in pointing out the fact that, yes, look, we do already do water all throughout the day. We do serve really great meals. And it was very affirming of our good practices.
Take a picture of me. Take a picture of me. Take a picture of me.
Are you sure apples are your favorite? I think blueberries might be your favorite. I'm not sure.
You never know.
You never know when you're going to find a new food favorite.
One of the interesting things that came out of our self-assessment was that there was one particular section where it asked you what topics are covered in your policy. And we all went through, one group had the family handbook, one had the staff handbook, one had the health and safety policies. And we went through looking for the topics. We discovered there, we have policies about these topics, but sometimes they're not written down. And we found also that sometimes what was in the family handbook was just slightly different from what was in our health and safety policy, and never direct contradictions, but not consistent. So one of the things we did very deliberately when we rewrote the policies was to cut and paste. If it says this in the health and safety policy, this is exactly what it says in the family handbook. This is exactly what it says in the staff handbook. Or we refer to that document so that there's no confusion about what the policies are. So that part of the self-assessment was very influential in how our whole policy ended up being handled. I, as a director, really appreciate when my whole staff participates in a professional development, and then we have the chance to talk about it as a group. Like, what did we learn? What do we want to do with this? What actions do we take? So we actually take ownership about what we've learned. The timing of Cheryl Frank's consult with us was perfect. We had had a staff meeting the night before and had done a lot of refining of the policy, but we felt like it was really scattered. And there wasn't, it wasn't organized well, it didn't make sense to us. And so, she really worked with me on how to do that. She referred me to that model healthcare policies book. And once she got me on track with that book, it was like everything started to fall together because we could see where it fit in. We chuckled on the phone like, your timing is really perfect because this is where we are. And then I sent it to her and she gave me some great feedback. It was just very helpful. When we got our policy to the point where we felt like other people could read it, I sent it out to families electronically and asked them to comment. And we got some really interesting comments like, well, why do you do this? Many of the questions were whys. And so that led to individual conversations with particular families. And some of the things were like, well, there's really no good reason why we do it that way. We could do it another way. And so we did, it was tweaking. It was nothing earth-shattering that we changed, but we did tweak some things in the policies. An unexpected consequence of this whole process was that we ended up revising our lesson plan. For the past, I'd say 18 months, we have been discussing our dissatisfaction with the form we were using and how could we make it better and what could we do about it. And actually, when we made this decision that, okay, we really want to go with these 2 teacher planned physical activities every day, one of the teachers actually said to me, and where am I going to put that on the lesson plan? And I'm like, nowhere. So we need to make this. So this summer we actually piloted a couple of different forms and revised our lesson plans so that now not only does it have 2 teacher-directed physical activities every week, but we also have a place to plan a weekly health, safety, and nutrition lesson. And so that to us was the icing on the cake from the whole process. Was we didn't know this is where we would end up, but we're really happy with the form we've developed. I think there are 2 positive outcomes. One is the consistency of our policies throughout our 3 major documents. That to me is something that is very important. I talk to my staff a lot about we're not going to be hypocrites. If we have it written down in our policies, then that's how we're going to live. And so we need to have our policies be consistent so it's possible to do what we say we're going to do. So that was a very important outcome to me personally. I think revising the lesson plans ensures that we're going to follow through and be consistent in applying it. And how it will affect us in the future, I think the lesson plan has a long-term implication for us. And I think anytime a staff works together on a big project and has success, it builds morale, it builds confidence and trust in one another. And so those are things that are going to keep bearing fruit within our organization in really constructive ways.
Hi.